I've been wanting to make this video here for a couple days now. Apologize for the fact I got it out kind of late. Life happens. Work, stepkids that I love spending time with. Trying to get Con Ed classes so I can maintain my certification to keep this nice little job that I have. It's kind of kept me from having time to really digest this and really kind of get it out the way I'd like to. So I know a lot of people probably have heard about it by now. Indiana Fever player Temi Fagbenle was the one that the expansion Golden State Valkyries of the WNBA in their WNBA expansion draft picked away from Indiana. So basically, whenever it's kind of common practice now, anytime a league has a new team come in, they have an expansion draft where basically teams are allowed to protect a certain number of players. In this case, it was six for the WNBA, and they could protect six players, and of the unprotected players, they basically had their pick from each team who they wanted. And for some reason, the Indiana Fever decided to leave Temi Fagbenle unprotected, and that's who the Golden State Valkyries picked up, which is a very good pickup for Golden State. Congrats to them. As a Fever fan, I actually do not like this at all. I don't like the fact we left her unprotected, and especially when it comes to other people that I feel we should have not left protected and actually kind of hoped that they did pick up and get out of our locker room. But it's kind of neither here nor there at this point. Well, actually, it is here nor there, and I'm going to talk about it. So this is a verbal tick of mine. But I just want to start by saying I'm really not a fan of the WNBA expanding. I know their business is up right now with Caitlin Clark and the Caitlin Clark effect and all that. They'd planned these expansions, before she showed up and just absolutely took this league to a whole nother level. The number one growing brand of any brand, sports, food, you name it, in 2024. No brand grew more than the WNBA grew. After 27 years, they finally not only have made the top of the list, and basically 1/4 of all the WNBA's profits, the money that they took in this year, can be traced directly to Caitlin Clark. And that's not counting the ones you can't trace directly back to her, that that wouldn't be happening if the money that wouldn't be coming in if it wasn't for the fact that we knew that Caitlin Clark was around. I don't know why they've not embraced her more, just from a strictly business standpoint. I mean, the jealousy I've talked about, they're a league that's always been subsidized by the NBA. They've never had to turn a profit ever. They've never been had to have any accountability. They never had to answer their consumer, and it shows. And like I said, from a business standpoint, here they are making the most business they've ever made in darn near 30 years, 27 years, and the league hates her. I mean, the legacy people who follow them for a long time have had a lot of bad things to say about her. Owners of teams, which I'll get to in a second here, who have seen record crowds way bigger than they'd have were she not around, have had bad things to say about her. And by the way, when I say they have bad things to say about her, I'm also talking about when they talk about her fan base, because they don't want to. They're too chicken to say anything about her, so they want us to talk about us as being the problem when we're really not. If we were where they said they were, no matter how exciting Caitlin Clark is, we would not be tuning in. And but yet here we are. So, but that's another story. But yeah, to me, the WNBA does not need to be expanding. I don't know whose idea that was. So we got the Golden State Valkyries. They're going to be the 13th team coming in this upcoming season for the 2025 year. And then in 2026, the Toronto Tempo. They accidentally name revealed them. So there's an expansion team for Toronto. They're going to be the 14th team, I guess, for 2026. And the name of their team is going to be the Tempo, the Toronto Tempo, and their name and their logo, which looks like it's straight out of the 1980s, looks like off the side of 1980s VHS. The companies that used to make the VHS tapes had those like lines in them. It's bad. It's a ripoff too of a lot of other logos, but they're going to come in too. But to me, now's not the time. I know there's unprecedented growth right now, but at the same time, you have to focus on what you already have and getting it healthy. I've talked in a lot of other videos about the fact that, the NBA is not in good shape. It only has 12 teams, and that is a big deal. The fact that it only has 12 teams is not a good thing. But the fact that it has 12 teams and none of which are really doing all that good except for Indiana now, that's a problem. That's where, to me, they need to hold off expansion and worry about strengthening what they do have. Because you look at the 12 existing teams. First off, you got to go straight to the Atlanta Dream and the Washington Mystics. They play their home games in these tiny arenas and average anywhere from 3 to 4,000 fans per game. And you also have the Dallas Wings, who basically play in another small little, I don't know what you call it, holds about 5,000 people. So right there, a quarter of your league, their home games are in stadiums that only hold about 5,000 or less fans. And obviously, when Caitlin Clark comes to town, if you're Washington or Atlanta, you will move them to bigger arenas. And if you're a co-owner of the Atlanta Dream, like Renee Montgomery, you will sit back while your team plays in its 3,300 seat arena. When Caitlin Clark comes to town, go to the State Farm Arena in Atlanta where the Hawks play. Have two games that sell out, 17,000 plus. Collect your money, then have bad things to say about the Caitlin Clark fans that filled it up and filled your pockets up more than they've ever been filled up before. You're fake, Renee. We all know it. You're a complete phony. If you truly believed in something, you would have said something before now. But here we are. But yeah, that's a quarter of your league right there playing in front of playing their home games where they're not playing against Caitlin Clark. To 5,000 or less people every single game. And really, the rest of the league is not doing much better. You look at the Connecticut Sun. They've got their own arena. It's about, I think, right at 9,000, 8,000 or 9,000, and they don't sell out very often. They have a hard time getting. They can't get 10,000. Their arena doesn't even hold 10,000, and of the 8 or 9,000 that it holds, they rarely sell that out. The Chicago Sky, in Chicago, they have access to the United Center, I would imagine, if they could draw in enough fans, but, they have about a 10,000 seat arena, and they rarely get the 10,000 seats in. Even with Angel Reese, who's been hyped to the moon and back. I know a lot of her luster has fallen, as I have documented. They're not doing well. They're having to play, like I said, mostly in front of less than 10,000 people. The Minnesota Lynx play in the Target Center. They play where the Timberwolves play, but they usually almost always have the curtain off the top half of the arena and play in front of 8,000 people. Even the Las Vegas Aces, who are one of the bigger draws, they have their own 10,000 seat arena, which they routinely sell out. But they have the big arena where the Las Vegas Golden Knights of the NHL play, and like where they hold NBA All-Star games when big events come to town. That holds 18,000. They were able to go there when Caitlin Clark came to town, and so there's a lot of growth there. They're not getting what they need. The Seattle Storm are and the New York Liberty are two of the bigger drawers. The Storm play where the Seattle Supersonics used to play. They average about anywhere from 10 to 12,000 fans, which is good. And the New York Liberty, they play at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. They average about 12,000 fans, which is good comparatively, but still they're not selling out. They're not. The numbers when Caitlin Clark comes to town versus all the other times it's pretty stark. So to me, expansion is not the way to go right now. I get it. People paid for that, but you're finally bringing in some money. You need to use this money to fortify what you have, fortify a good base, because the WNBA has never had a good base ever. They've lost money all 26, 27, 28 years, whatever it's been now, since 1997 when they first opened. They've lost money, an average of $10 million a year that the WNBA has covered, and covered for them. And you have to fortify that. They've never had a strong base. To me, you have to strengthen the base instead of start tacking stuff onto it. Because, let's face it, we're one Caitlin Clark injury away from them really, really bottoming out again. Because a lot of the money coming in is to see her play. And like I said, a lot of teams, they're going to have these revenue spikes when Caitlin Clark comes to town. They have increased the schedule. Now, that's a good move. Increasing the number of games on the schedule is a good move, because now I think every team will get to have Indiana come to town at least 3 times, I think, or I know at least twice now, but I think like Seattle, they'll have Indiana come to town 3 times. So that's going to help them sell a lot more tickets. But so yeah, I'm not a big fan of the expansion. But as far as Temi Fagbenle, when I found out they took her, I'm like, oh man, that sucks, and it kind of stung. It really did, and I got to thinking, she's somebody I've not really talked about much this year in my Indiana Fever videos. Obviously, I've watched the Fever because I wanted to watch Caitlin Clark play, and in the process, I've grown attached to a lot of the players on that team. Obviously, Leah Boston, she was the #1 pick last year. She's a big. She's gonna be the big key to where they go. Her and Caitlin have developed some really good chemistry on and off the court. And then, of course, the emergence of Kelsey Mitchell as her backcourt mate. That is the way they play off. The way those three play off of each other is amazing. And it's fun to watch, and there's a lot good there. So I've spoken extensively about those three as well as Lexi Hull. She can hit some big threes. She plays good defense when they're not calling garbage fouls on her. Aaliyah Boston plays wonderful defense when they're not calling garbage fouls on her, which they always do. Meanwhile, they're in the court getting mugged, but that's another issue they need to get fixed for another video. Um, and Erica Wheeler's another one I really got attached to. I really liked her, the energy and the attitude she brought. I really liked her tough attitude that she brought, and I'm going to defend my teammates. And Damaris Dantas, she got limited playing time, but I felt like she did pretty good in the time she was there. She hit some big threes and try to play some defense at least. The Indiana Fever were not a good defensive team this year. Like I said, their defenders they did have got trash fouls called and couldn't really defend, and the rest of them they never really defended the 3-point line. So if a team was hot from 3-point range, like the game they played in Dallas right before the Olympic break, they're going to lose. So that was that's an issue that I'm pretty sure they're going to fix. Now they have Stephanie White from the Sun there. I think that'll fix, but I never really talked much about Temi. And I realize now I should have because she was one when she averaged 18 minutes a game in the games that she did play. She had some injury issues. I think she played about 22, 23 games. Averaged, I think, 18 minutes in the games that she did play. They finally had to put her in the lineup against the Connecticut Sun for Nalissa Smith, who's playing her girlfriend, Dejanay Carrington, the biggest Caitlin Clark antagonist in the league, the one who went the furthest out of her way the most often to trash Caitlin Clark, as well as those of us who enjoy watching her and are tuning in and putting money in her pocket and are going to cause her to have a very big salary increase by watching her. She's gone the furthest out of her way to trash her. Like I said, jammed her acrylic nail in her eye in the playoff game, which is just that's about as low as it gets. Eye gouging is one of those things. Like I said, I've mentioned Conrad Dobler in the past. He was a offensive lineman for the at the time St. Louis Cardinals football team, and he's still known as the dirtiest player ever. Back in the 70s and 80s, and he was known for gouging eyes, and that's one thing that people just don't forget. So that's as dirty as it gets, and Nalissa Smith is dating her and has not spoken out against that at all, and she's even made videos mocking it. Why we did not leave her unprotected, or I'm hoping they're hanging on to Nalissa Smith to try to get some trade value for her. Nalissa Smith is a skilled player. I'll give her that. I don't think I never really felt like her skill set really fit the Fever. I was saying that before I realized just how deep in with Dejanay she is. I knew she was dating Dejanay, but the fact that she was going to just show no effort against the Sun in the playoffs, having to play against her and have to be basically benched, and rightfully so, and they played a lot better without her. She just didn't really seem to fit the system. So hopefully we're hanging on to her to get some good trade value and get a good trade in return. Maybe we felt like just giving her up in the expansion draft wasn't going to be a good thing. But man, losing Tammy's going to be tough, though. Like I said, I hope they don't keep Nalissa. If they keep Nalissa, I'm still going to watch, and I'll pull for her because she's on the Fever. And, if I'm wrong, I'll be happy that I'm wrong. If she turns out to be a big contributor, if they have big plans, I think she's going to be a good contributor to this new regime, the head coach and president and GM. If they're right, then hey, great. Um, but I don't personally see it, and quite honestly, with the like I said, with the video skit, it's I really hope we're angling towards getting away from her. So hopefully we protected her to hopefully get something better in return than just giving her up in a expansion draft. But I do want to say a big thank you to Temi Fagbenle. Thank you for the effort. You gave a lot of effort. You ran that floor. You played defense. You put effort forth on defense. You fought through injuries, and we will not forget that. Um, and like I said, best of luck at Golden State, and good move by Golden State. They left you unprotected, and I mean, I think they made a good call. I think they really made a good call in picking you up. So thank you, Tammy, and like I said, it's gonna be tough losing you, but I'll never forget what you did for us this season. So thank you, and thank all of y'all that watched this, and I'll talk to you later.